computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
Ooh. I like it. All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having yourselves a fantastic start to your Tuesday. Feels a little bit, I don't know, strange this morning. But yeah, feeling good, feeling sharp, feeling ready to go. Excited to be trading with you all here today. Nice little day there yesterday. Looking to continue to compound, grow, and basically build accounts. And hopefully, right, we can continue to see a nice amount of momentum after yesterday's, yeah, honestly, really aggressive kind of PA. Now, yesterday, right, not necessarily the easiest trading day in the world. The vast majority of the moves sort of happened in the overnight session, but we still got a little bit of some action for ourselves there. Took advantage of a couple of the moves, and yeah, to put ourselves right in a good situation to finish the day green. So really, really nice sensation and happy, right, with how things have been going here. Um, and yeah, looking to basically just do more of the same, right? Looking to find my A plus setups, looking to basically, optimize for good trading results, and hopefully, right, can continue that momentum and can continue being, yeah, basically just the best trader, right, that I can be here. The thing that I want to focus on a lot this morning, and something that I'm trying to optimize for here to a certain extent is really making sure that first trade of the day is the best trade of the day, right? I've kind of gone to a little bit of a streak here where I start the day off with a loss and then claw it back, right, with trade number 2 or trade number 3, before ever kind of getting up to sort of that nice P&L kind of bump. And if I can kind of just start the day off with a nice win, right, build up that momentum early, and kind of just like maintain my progress that way. Obviously, that's going to be a huge jump in P&L, but I think it's also going to be a huge way to sort of protect myself from a mental capital perspective and just make sure I don't get that tunnel vision, right, on price action, especially when price action wants to be maybe a little bit sticky or a little bit challenging. The other side of the coin, right, if we want to call it that, is continuing to basically evolve, right, that like fake out awareness that I mentioned there on Sunday night and talked about a little bit there yesterday morning. So continuing to put a lot of emphasis there, right? Making sure that we're identifying effectively what the right market conditions are here pre-market and using those two scenarios as our like bumpers in bowling, right? Basically keep us in lane and anticipating, right, that's going to continue to elevate our trading performance here and build out, right, a really nice little technique. So I'm obviously really excited to be here. I'm very excited to see what the market has in store for us here today. And yeah, looking forward to trading with everyone and hopefully, right, having ourselves a pretty smooth session. So first things first here this AM, right? We've got a relatively busy economic calendar relative to yesterday. We had core CPI come out, not really impacting markets here too much. And then from there, we've got a clean slate here for the remainder of the morning. So excited, right? Because that should mean that we have a slightly less, maybe like market that's effectively like waiting for something. I'm not sure if we're necessarily waiting for anything here today, and maybe that gives us kind of the green light, right, to get a nice bit of sort of trending PA. All right. So yeah, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Preet. Good morning, everyone watching on YouTube. And yeah, let's get after it here, team. Let's have ourselves one heck of a day, and let's put ourselves in the best situation possible to win. So first things first, what's the count on ES? Let's start there, and then let's start mapping things out. Yeah, so we're going to call that like a 2.5 out of 3. Today we've seen it kind of go both green and red. Effectively, though, right, it won't make too much of a difference for me. If it's a 2 out of 3 with volume, right, or a 3 for 3 here to the upside, we know that we've got trending conditions here higher, and that clearly, right, is the narrative that very much is in play here. So we're just looking for that continuation breakout, right, and maybe push back towards an all-time highs. I don't think that all-time high move is going to happen here, obviously, in one go or today. But let's see if we can get this thing to start to give us some further separation, right, and start to build up on this momentum and start to flirt, right, with that 6,000 level. We're at 58.69. Nice here pre-market. So, starting point here to the upside is going to be 58.80. And that's going to be sort of our reasonable kind of bit of PA. And then because it's a kind of clear trend day breakout there yesterday, right? Arguably even a bull flag breakout. And then paired that with volume, right? I'm not going to be looking for any downside narratives here this morning. So NA here for a downside trade. And just looking for bullish bias today. Okay, NQ, just a textbook 3 for 3 here, right? So very similar story, bull flag breakout, yada, yada, yada. And looks like we have maybe a little bit more momentum here in tech. We're at that 20,000, 21,000 here pre-market. So again, right, starting level is going to be 21.1. We haven't mapped out to 21.5. Could probably add a few extra layers here. So 21.6, 21.7. I'll go like to 22. Again, I don't anticipate this happening all in one click. But you honestly just never know. And then, yeah, same thing, right? Kind of a textbook breakout there to the upside. So looking for that continuation narrative higher instead of looking for a bear case scenario or whatever you want to call it. Oh, all right, perfect. CL, what's the count? How do we feel? What's maybe different about CL compared to our indexes? Yeah, like I wouldn't necessarily call it a perfect rejection, but it's definitely starting to give us like some signs maybe of some weakness here, right? Or maybe some signs like that enthusiasm is waning a little bit. So this would probably have a little bit of a more reasonable bias to be able to trade this in both directions. We've kind of seen price action effectively. If I'm going to put the box out, we've seen basically more rejections inside that box than we have seen basically breakouts, right? And if we extend this even lower, then it becomes even more obvious. So this is kind of a spot where we've seen CL maybe catch its breath is the PC term here for it today. But yeah, it's a weaker 3 for 3 going into the contract roll there on Friday. So it does give me some reasons just to slow down an insy binsy bit. This is the name, right, where I have kind of some flexibility here in both directions. So we are going to look for that ORB breakout towards 64. That doesn't need to change. And then to the downside here, still targeting that 61. Maybe you could go like 61.50 as our starting point. But it does have some flexibility here in both directions. If I'm going to be thinking about maybe like the mean reversion strategy here instead of the opening range, maybe CL will be the best mean reversion type rejection here today, right? Where we get that kind of like maybe early pop and then sell off. That could potentially be the easiest variant for us to trade here this morning. But with the sort of enthusiasm that the indexes are showing us, my bias or my emphasis, right, would be towards probably looking at the indexes with a little bit more intensity here today, and then adding, basically, right, a CL look, right, if something isn't up quickly. So excited, right, anticipating some action here today, but let's not get too carried away. Oftentimes, and I'm saying this basically just to force myself to slow down, right, not to chase this too aggressively. But oftentimes, right, when you get that big trend day, the next day ends up being kind of like a day of consolidation. And if we do get that story on the indexes, basically just want to make sure I don't get any tunnel vision and get stuck in price action that isn't moving. All right, Apple. So pretty aggressive dip by day there yesterday. Didn't quite fill that gap, kind of filled the first step of it. But yeah, relatively interesting session, relatively interesting. It's going to be a week 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume. So a little bit of a divergence away from our indexes, right? It being a red candle, which is a little bit surprising considering yesterday's kind of tremendous range. But if this thing can start to find some enthusiasm, Apple's going to have some nice ways to go. Tesla, same thing, right? Higher high, higher low, attempted to fill that gap, left a little bit behind there. That's fine, but we're going to call this a 1 for 3 here, right? Red candle, decreasing volume, gap up. So not exactly a strong story from bears. So if we can now maybe see our leading name start to give us that breakout, that could become then that next catalyst, right, for the indexes to keep pushing higher. Okay, Microsoft, kind of the first name that looks like the indexes, right? We're going to call this a 2 out of 3. I don't know why I said it that way. 2 out of 3 here to the upside with volume. And again, right, looking for that breakout here towards all-time highs. Okay, Amazon, same thing as kind of Apple, right? 2 out of 3 weak. And it's gapping up pretty much above yesterday's high a day. We can get that nice pop and go again, right? That gives us some conviction that maybe we can get a little bit of follow through here to the upside and then can go from there. Okay, AMD, strongest kind of bearish candle, right, of all the sort of leading names that we've seen here so far. But then decent sized gap up here, pushing 110. And we're looking for a breakout here. So again, right, a 2 for 3 here to the upside. Sorry, 2 for 3 to the downside with volume. I can't call this one a weak candle, but it did make higher high plus higher low. Okay, NVIDIA, nice little 3 for 3 here. Fantastic. Meta, same thing, 3 for 3 here to the upside. Sharp. Netflix. This was our strongest name there yesterday here to the downside, right? and it continues to show some signs of strength. It's gapping up by $1 on a $1,100 stock. Definitely not anything that's significant, but we're going to call this a 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume. Okay, and then Google, honestly, still stuck right inside that Wednesday range. Not much has really changed there. It's a 3 for 3. Pretty sure this is like all just Bill Ackman. He's got a pretty massive position in Google here. So we'll see if this thing's got some juice. Maybe starting to look a little bit like an ascending wedge. You can call that like just a traditional wedge pattern. That certainly is interesting, right? And if we draw out the TA that way, right, kind of tells us that it's in the middle of its consolidation zone. And that Wednesday range, right, is going to continue to be sort of our point of reference here until we can separate away from those highs or away from those lows. And then the old VIX-Aruni. We haven't seen it. I mean, yesterday was like the first time we saw it sub 20 in a very, very long time. Now we're sub 18, right? We kind of have 1% of implied range here today. The fear, right, is effectively evaporating away from markets. And maybe this gives us some opportunities, right, for a nice little rip here to the upside. And yeah, I can kind of go from there. Any questions here this morning, team? Kind of fire through this prep pretty quickly. But any questions? Anything? How we feeling? All right. Sounds good. So there's no questions here this AM. Fantastic. I'm going to go take a few minutes then, right, to basically get my head screwed on straight, get enough caffeine in me so that I feel energetic here. Yeah, I'll be back in a couple minutes here and we'll do a quick little rundown before this session is starting. So if you guys have any questions, obviously pop them in the chat. Otherwise, yeah, I'll be back in a few minutes and we'll get ourselves squared up for what should hopefully be an interesting trading day. All right, everybody. So back here. Yeah, so just a couple things, right, before we kick off the day. Right. Yeah, relatively trending price action here to the upside, right, this morning. So we're looking for a continuation narrative here higher. It can be really challenging for me to look for rejections on the indexes. I'm not going to be super interested in those narratives, and just want to make sure, right, that I'm looking for high conviction or high quality setups here to the upside instead of looking for like just the first possible rejection. If things want to kind of behave the way that they have in the last couple months, right, then maybe we get kind of a couple early fake outs before a move ever does occur. And yeah, I just wanted to be a little bit deliberate basically in how I'm viewing price action, just to not get caught up in what could potentially be some relatively choppy bits of PA. Historically, right, what we see after relatively large days is kind of like a muted day or a kind of a smaller general move, right? Like everyone's like catching their breath and recalibrating post trend day. And maybe that ultimately ends up being the scenario that is here today. So, that just creates an environment, right, where you want the market to move more than the market wants to move. And generally that isn't a winning combo or a winning scenario. That being said, right, I do have some flexibility to trade price action here in both directions on CL. So if we do get that sort of two-way tape, right, then crude's going to be a reasonable focus for me here today. And then, yeah, we've got a few kind of leading names that are sort of lagging the indexes here to a certain extent. So Apple, Tesla, right, Amazon, all kind of showing us. I've got like the Austin Powers air quotation marks here, but showing us relative weakness relative to the indexes. Didn't need to say relative twice there, but that gives us a scenario, right, where if those names want to start popping and they want to start to give us some enthusiasm and they want to start to break out and really start to push higher, that could be the catalyst, right, for that continuation narrative on NQ or continuation narrative on ES. And that would be the story that helps us get basically maybe that oversized move here today. If we don't get that level of enthusiasm, then no worries. Happy to sit on hands, happy to be patient, happy to really force myself to be deliberate. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what kind of action the market wants to give me here this morning. If NQ can hold that 21,000 area, that would be interesting. If ES could get to that, say 5,900 in the next day or two, right, that could also become interesting and effectively become like that base for that next sort of leg here to the upside. Also, right, worth noting that with these like relatively aggressive moves yesterday, right? So pretty big move that happened pretty much in the pre-market, and then kind of like some enthusiasm here higher. We are probably expecting to get some like mean reversion triggers here on ES and NQ. I'm going to filter those opportunities out and look for mean reversion trades on CL, right? So again, looking for crude scenarios here if I'm going to get that downside case. Otherwise, just looking for those sort of textbook breakout type scenarios and potentially navigating, right, like a double fake out scenario if price action wants to be a little bit sticky here this morning. Really the primary objective, right, today. And I mean, this is the primary objective every day, but the primary objective here is just not get caught up in price action that isn't moving, right? Or not getting caught up in price action that's like a drain on my mental capital. I want to control the variables I can't control here well, put myself in scenarios where it's easy to basically get some nice PA and then, have like a smooth and clean trading day. What I want more than almost anything is like the first trade of the day to be my best trade of the day, right? And so I might have to force myself to slow down just a little bit just to be able to get that oversized move. And I'm okay being patient. I'm okay being deliberate, right? I'm okay waiting until things are absolutely perfect. You don't have to force anything here today, right? We're on a 5-day green streak here. And so I'm looking for a continuation of that. But I'm on that 5-day green streak because I've been reasonably good at closing my trades as my P&L is increasing. I've done a better job here at following my rules, right? Where I'm closing trades once I basically get those signs of weakness, right, post entry. And I want to basically continue to build off of those good habits because ultimately that's what's been making me money. So that's the primary focus here today. Let's see what the market has in store for us based on those contexts. And hopefully, right, we can get ourselves a little bit of joy here this morning and just crush, right, whatever enthusiasm is in play. Any questions here this AM team? Anything maybe that I didn't go over that you want covered? Let me know, but hopefully everyone's feeling good. Everyone's excited to be here and we can set ourselves up for what should be an awesome trading day. Any questions? So early doors, right? We've got a mean reversion set up here, possibly right on CL on this 3-min time frame. So let's see if this candle wants to close with some strength and if this indicator wants to close with some strength. But we're opening up outside, right, of these already very extended Bollinger Bands. So I am expecting, right, a little bit of some action potentially in play for that. I don't unfortunately trade other kind of various commodities besides the tickers we kind of gone over here today. Just truth be told, I've been trading US based assets for the vast majority of my 13-year career with like a little dally into FX. But I get more than enough opportunities here. So yeah, I don't feel like I need to trade any other sort of tickers. But I appreciate that comment. So CL isn't going to give me that early look here to the downside, at least not in the 3-min time frame. Might have to wait this thing out a little bit, no big deal. And Q, a decent sized range, right? Not quite as big as yesterday, but yesterday was kind of an outlier, so I'm not expecting that to be a lunatic. What we want to judge here now, right, this morning on our indexes, is how clean is the initial breakout here higher, right? Is it going to hold? Are we going to see that momentum show up? Are we going to see that level of enthusiasm? And if we don't, right, then we know we got to wait for that fake out higher and that fake out lower. If we do get it, right, then we can look for that sort of nice early momentum trade. We don't have any 10 a.m. data to be worried about here this morning. So it's kind of like a open calendar to a certain extent for us. So let's see if the market wants to then basically give us that early opportunity. If it doesn't, no worries, no biggie. Happy to be patient, but let's make sure, right, that the story is consistent and clean prior to us being aggressive. Hey, Mike, welcome. Glad to hear you're doing well. And you've got a hardworking chiropractor who's doing those early morning sessions. Let's go, Rico. Congratulations. 5.1% overnight. It's a pretty good feeling. Okay, so far looking like a pretty strong reaction here on NQ, right? Pretty good initial breakout. I don't know if we're going to get that increasing volume standard here on the second candle. Again, that's a pretty rare kind of combo. But that'll just make us that we have to judge, right, then the third candle of the day, basically determine what that momentum looks like. Might have jinxed it. Let's see. Yeah, so really good open here so far on NQ, right? Good hold on a breakout. Now we need to see that increasing volume show up, right? If we're going to have any element of enthusiasm. Same thing here on ES, right? Although we got nice breakouts, they're not necessarily supported by a volume profile here yet. So that's what we're cheering for, right? We're looking to see if that volume can show up and push things higher. Otherwise, right, got to be a little bit patient. So regardless, I don't have any confirmations here yet, but it would be great to get one here eventually. If we don't get that confirmation, right, and that second candle ends up being a sell-off candle, then we're going to be waiting for a double fake out scenario. Or, right, we pass on that burden of confirmation to a different time frame. But early doors, yeah, pretty promising start here from the indexes. Kind of looks like a continuation, right, of that trending price action, which is exactly what we'd like to see. And CL, and this continues to maybe show me the most relative weakness. Let's see if that actually ends up coming in. Like CL might be able to play this on the 5-min reversal or ORB play, whatever you want to call it. Keep that here. I don't know what's going on here today, but I'm very tired. Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to be able to trade futures. If you're inside the Discord, I would recommend working through the Start Here channel. It'll kind of answer all those questions here for you. If you've never traded them before, then I would recommend basically paper trading them for a couple days, right? Build up a little bit of kind of skill, right, within that context. That would be pretty helpful for you. The way that it moves, right? So ES moves $50 a point. There's 4 ticks in a point. NQ moves $20 a point, right? Again, there's 4 ticks in a point, and then CL moves $10 a point or $10 a cent, and that's pretty smooth. So we don't have a bearish confirmation here yet, right? But we're waiting for this candle to close as a red one to give us that mean reversion type opportunity. So we'll see if that ever ends up kind of coming together and can go from there. If you, just to go back to your question, it's, you can paper trade this through TradingView. That would be probably the best place to start and practice there. But yeah, all your questions would be answered inside the Start Here channel, inside the Discord. So I would recommend reviewing that. Again, right, we're still looking for that increasing volume standard here somewhere. Might not happen on the 3-min. Maybe we have a chance here on the 5. Okay, we got a 10-minute bearish reversal here on CL. So 62.56. The average loss is 37 cents. The average win is 67 cents. So closed at 56. So we're targeting 89 as our level here, and then looking right for a stop loss at high of day. We'll box it in like this. And that would give me a stop of 67. I'm going to start to set this up here a little bit. 62.67 stop loss, right? And we got to keep the sizing reasonable here. This would be a 5 contract play for now. I'm going to watch this early reaction just to make sure I'm not forced. So watching CL here closely, right? Basically, we want to see if it's going to reject here inside this area. Yeah, beautiful. A reasonable volume breakout there. Lots going on early. You're looking at a 21.55.50 stop loss, and you want the pullback, right, to basically find support off of there. Not sure if that's going to happen here yet. Let's see if it does occur. But it's pretty tight sizing, right? You don't get that too often here early in the day. This early reactions may be a little bit less than optimal. Keep watching. Okay, no entry here on NQ. So very clearly setting up here as a fake out scenario. Let's go back to focusing here now on CL. And we're looking at a 62.67 stop loss. So far, the reaction on this pullback's not been fantastic. There's that 67. So again, right, good excuse to have not rushed in here early. Yeah, a little bit of a fake out lower there to start the day off. Let's see how it closes on the 5. Same thing here with ES. Let's see how it closes here on the 5. It's kind of a fake out lower though there as well. That maybe gives me a little bit of reason to pause. And I'm going to walk away from CL at this point. Not the correct reaction here. I mean, it's a higher high, higher low on the 5. Looks less appealing on the 3. If I can get like the aggressive right technique, it did close above our previous area of resistance. And I don't think I've missed out on anything here yet. I have an interesting open. Do something like this. 50-50 stop loss. Not sure if I could talk myself into that. I don't like to do multi-time frame analysis, Aj, because what I can do is I can always find a reason, right, to talk myself into a play or out of a play, just depending on what my bias is. So generally, I want to treat each setup here independently or each time frame here independently. What I'm effectively looking for here is what's the first short-term time frame, right? That gives me the same narrative as sort of my daily time frame. And that would be sort of the story. From the way that price action here has behaved a little bit this morning, kind of a fake out higher. And we'd be looking now, right, for some sort of variant of a fake out lower prior to us being confident that we have that aggressive kind of price action. But I'm not convinced by anything here yet. I think what looked like a relatively promising open has maybe faded away with its enthusiasm here to a certain extent. I must have woken up in the middle of a sleep cycle here today. Okay, so a little inside bar there on the 3 min. Doesn't kill me, doesn't exactly make me. I mean, if we're looking at price action here, early doors, this is very much a point of support here, right? That 2143, 043, a little bit of a clearer area of support versus maybe ES. Again, not in a rush to do anything. There's very limited evidence that I need to be forceful here. Again, right? Post big trend day, sometimes the most likely outcome is effectively like a kind of a slow day. You know, maybe if I'm thinking about what we've seen here so far, that narrative is starting to look a little bit more likely or like a higher probability type setup. I'm not convinced by anything here yet. A little inside bar on the 5. maybe even bull flagging a little bit here on the 3. Yeah, a little bit of a no man's land open. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Sorry. Went to bed so early too. Sorry, Ajay. Sorry, mate. Okay, I mean, maybe back in business here on NQ. Usually pretty good in the morning, so I don't get what happened here today. Oh, while we've got a little bit of time here this morning, so I don't know there's a bunch of Canadians in here, but a few maybe Americans. This upcoming weekend is Canada's May long weekend, and I've got some family who's going to be visiting me. So Friday, I'll be trading normally, like a traditional kind of historical trading day. Monday, to be determined if I'm going to be trading. I might have some airport duties I got to take advantage of, or I got to be a good person to do. So the stream next week might be a little bit different, right? It might be no stream here on Monday, which is the holiday Monday. I'll obviously update you guys inside the Discord, right? If something does kind of come together. But yeah, I don't know. Living in a place where people want to go on vacation means I got to play host a lot here, I think, going forward. Again, we're still looking for just that increasing outlier volume. We have a good chance here on the 5-minute time frame. Don't have a particularly good variant of that here on the 3. So we should get increasing outlier volume. If we can get that increasing outlier volume and a hold above 21.1, we will be in great shape. Again, right, I anticipate us getting that outlier volume here. So now we want it to see it hold right above that 21.1, basically break and hold above that psychological level. Yeah, I cannot stop yawning here this morning. Don't get it. Like 9 hours of sleep last night. Okay, so 40 seconds to go. And so we're going to be watching NQ here on the 5. Let's see, 10 seconds. Getting everything set up here. Right, got my NQ up. Okay, strong, powerful close. Now we're looking, right, for a move up towards sort of that 21,174. So aggressive entry would be awesome if we can get it. $14 points of risk. Okay, cool. So definitely watching here. Definitely watching. 2101 would be the stop loss. Okay, and let's watch if that blue line can act as our area of support here. Okay, looking sharp here so far. So we can get that gentle pullback. That last little push from 117 to 111 wasn't gentle. Okay, there we go. So let's see if we can get this little pullback here again. And as is, right, this has to be a one contract play. Oh, come on, give me the pullback. Disc. Nice entry, great entry. And yeah, if this doesn't give me that look here, I can now try to play this on the 3. Still going to try to focus on the 5 just for now. Points away, maybe not likely. So stop loss would be 122 here. I'm just a little bit jealous. Oh, might give me a good op. Let's see. And in this context, right, I'm going to be targeting on the 3-min time frame a move towards 21.2. Okay, so watching here very closely, I can go pretty decent sizing. Okay, now I'm going to switch back to the 5, right? Because we're back to the 3 actually. So stop loss now would be 120, 119. Okay, so I'm watching here closely, team. Gone a little bit bouncy at these highs. Okay, I am in 121, in at 121, just got stopped out, minus 162. I think my computer was muted there. I didn't hear the order. Let's try this again. 116 stop loss. Now it would be 2 contracts. Okay, so I am back in 126.25, 2 contracts, stop loss 116. Okay, got stopped out there again. Double fake outs. So frustrating. Stop loss now have to be 115. That's so ruthless. So again, tries to be a little pullback here. All right, I'm back in 124 here, 124. Stop loss 115. And let's see if this thing can go. I've got 3 contracts here, 3 contracts. And it's 124 on the dot. Stop is 115. So far, so good here, right? So far, so good on this position. Let's even keep going here. Let's even keep going. Beautiful. Keep pushing here. Keep pushing. Keep going. That's 750 here so far. 900. Keep going here. Breakout through 40. Fantastic. Now let's see if this thing can hold and keep flying. Come on. Breakout through 140. Give me that pop. Fly, baby, fly. There we go. Really good shape here so far, team. Really, really good shape. I will not let this go red, right? I will not let this go red. Now let's see if we can get that 150 pop here. Basically just been a straight line up here all morning. Give me that 150. Come on. Come on. Come on. You got this. That's 1,300, almost 1,400. Okay, watch this 150 pop. Watch this 150 pop. It's not a super strong candle shape here, so I want to be a little bit careful. You get this breakout and hold like a big pop through 150. And then look to get out. Oh, it's in good shape here. Okay, guys, I have closed that trade. Exit price 21,151.50. That was a really, really nice win. Puts me up on $1,000 here on the day. And maybe close that a little bit early, but I'm okay by that. Maybe a little bit too early, but I'll take it. That's a great start. It's definitely left a lot of money on the table here. Fine. All right, everyone green after that, though. Everyone green. So, Charles, right? The YouTube does have a little bit of a delay, but it's like 3 seconds at most. So, no, that's not going to be the difference between you being a profitable trader or not. We also box in all our trades, and I tell you what my entry price is going to be before it happens. So if you set yourself up and you're listening, that's not going to be an issue. I refuse to accept that as an excuse. That's bullshit. And yes, I got stopped out on those first 2 trades as well. So if you got stopped out on those positions, well, so did I, right? Tough luck. I made money on my 3rd trade here of the day. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of time. So if you want to make sure that your YouTube is as up to speed as possible, make sure that your live button is red, but the latency is no more than 3 seconds. And that's not going to be the difference between you being profitable or you being unprofitable. If you just listen to what we're talking about, where I'm telling you what my entry price is, where my entry zone is going to be, what price that blue line is, you're going to have all the information you need to be able to make the same decisions as me. And if you're unsure, ask, right? That's the point of being in the live chat. It's not just a place to voice complaints. Yeah, absolutely is. Yeah. 3-min time frame. Just below that outlier volume, just below. Nice work, Steven. Congratulations. $1,500 on the day is fantastic work. And evidence, right, that it's not the YouTube latency, right? that's going to make you or cost you money. It's got honestly absolutely nothing to do with it. If it was a minute, for sure, I would be on your side, but it's not, guys. It really is not a big deal. Why'd you chicken out? Let's go, Herschel. Nice work. I mean, it's 7:10 or 10:10 in the morning. We're up $1,000. Hard to complain about that. Okay, so I'm going to slow down here a little bit around some of these other setups. Not quite giving me what I want to see. Just a little bit too much volume right on that inside bar for me to be hyper aggressive here yet. So I would say if I'm thinking about this trade, I probably left an extra $1,000 on the table here. Maybe a bit less, maybe 800 as stands. That's a bit annoying, but I'll take it. Still been pretty good progress here. How's everyone feeling this morning? Love it. What's the P&L today? Fantastic. Let's go. $1,200 is a nice number. Congratulations. Nice work, Norm. Good job. And now, yeah, now NQ is making me feel a little bit dumb. I hear that, Jeremy. I hear that. That was me last Monday. Felt very rusty last Monday. Ah, Preet, nice work. All right, well, we've got another opportunity here, guys, right? It's giving us that breakout above 200 on increasing outlier volume. So we're setting back up here for a move towards 21.3. So let's see if it can give us that opportunity, right? Reasonable enough close, held above 200. Nice work. $1,900, Preet. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Congratulations. You should be thrilled. That's incredible work. Hey, $400 on a day where you're feeling rusty is not a bad result at all. Congratulations. Okay, right. So now we're targeting a move towards 21.3. Like ideally, I think I'd prefer the pullback entry technique here off of like 180-ish, right? So that blue line. So again, right, we're 20 points away from what I'm saying is going to be my entry price. If you're going to blame latency when you have that information 20 minutes before, that's not a fair comment to make, right? So we know where our stop loss is already going to be. We know where our potential entry is going to be. And now we're waiting for markets to cooperate. If this thing breaks out here now above the previous high, then we're going to use that green line, right, as our reference point, or previous high of day as our entry target. So again, right, you have all the information you need before I ever place a trade. So waiting for me to say that I am in when I am telling you exactly what I'm going to be doing, it's a very lazy approach. Drives me nuts. Okay, so unlikely that I'm going to get an entry here on this candle. So we're going to have to reset, right? We should get increasing volume here on this next opportunity. All right, so still same logic for now, right on this pullback technique. If it breaks out above, then again, we'll be using that 246 as our reference price. And ideally, right, I want a little bit of a pullback just under that 219 so that I can get the position sizing I want, right? So we want to make sure that we're always staying within 25 points. That's like right on the cusp of 25 points. So a little bit of a pullback here would be a welcome sight. Otherwise, right, we're looking for the aggressive entry technique. And we need an entry around 241 or better. Is this clear to absolutely everybody? I want to understand the plan here. My objective, team, right, is to give you all the information you need to be able to copy my trades and my executions. But if you're waiting for me to say that I am in, you're no longer copying my trades, you are chasing my trades. And there is a huge difference in P&L based off of that, right? So that's why I map out my trades. That's why I tell you what I want to see price action do. That's why I tell you my stop loss, my entry target, and my position sizing. And I tell you all these things before I ever enter a trade so that you aren't chasing. If we're going to chase, we're going to get burned. Guaranteed. Right? You're going to lose more money when we're wrong, and you're going to make less money when we're right. That is not a winning formula. Okay, so I'm watching here, right? I am absolutely watching here. We're looking for a gentle pullback now. That was not gentle. Still not gentle, right? So being patient, better. Okay, guys, so I am back in here. Average price 213.75, 213.75, just one contract. Stop is 194. Come on, NQ. Let's give me some juice here. Okay, so far so good. So let's see if this thing can continue separating here to the upside. Hmm. Yeah, Kyle, means you're missing market data, right? Means you're 10 minutes behind on the current price. So please purchase the $7 a month data add-on. That would be the difference between your candles. Do not place trades without live market data. You are asking to get destroyed. Please, guys, work through the Start Here channel in the Discord. It will give you absolutely everything you need to be able to set up and trade here with us. Don't neglect that. Okay, so kind of last chance saloon here for NQ to give me that pop. Otherwise, I got to look to get out. Keeps kind of bouncing right around my entry price and then selling off. Yeah, I'm thinking about that a little bit here too, Kiki. I can close it for a little profit. Give me a pop here. Come on, go, 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 go. Okay, guys, I have closed there at 220.50, 220.50. It's just taking too long. So if it gives me strength, it'll reset back up and I can look to jump in. Obviously, the second I close, it starts to run. But that's okay. It's a quick 150 bucks. It's funny how that works, right? Yeah, Kyle. I mean, I keep saying, man, you got to buy your live market data. Without the live market data, your price difference is 10 minutes behind. So, truth be told, here, man, right? I'm kind of repeating myself here. I've told you the solution 3 or 4 times now. That is the solution. So I don't understand where this discrepancy is coming from. You have to buy that live market data. I cannot make it more clear than that. You are going to be experiencing a 10-minute delay until you make that purchase. It is $7 a month. Please, please, please do it. Yeah, that trade, it was okay, right? It just wasn't moving the way that I expected once I was in. So just to have a chance to get out at a small profit, that for me is worth it. Even if, okay, I left a little bit of money on the table, right? Once I start to acknowledge that, hey, my setup isn't behaving the way that I want, I'm no longer trying to maximize my P&L. I'm trying to minimize my risk, right? Because if the trade is strong and it gives me that breakout above our confirmation candle high, I'm going to have another chance to enter. Oh, I don't need to basically drain my mental capital there somewhere in the middle. I just need to look for the next perfect opportunity, right, to be able to execute my thesis. Refresh your thing, Kiki. Refresh. Nice work, guys. Nice work. What is it? It's 10:30. I'm up almost $1,200 here on the day. What's your ticker, Kyle? What's the ticker? So who's got the high water mark for P&L here today? Who's got more than 1,200? Kyle, please just answer the question. What's your ticker? And although I didn't maximize my profit on that trade, right, closing it where I did, ultimately a very good decision. Right, that would have now just stopped me out. So we did a good job managing our risk there, right? take the clues that the market gives you. Let's go, Kiki. Nice work. Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. I got out 220.50, 220.50. Yeah, once it just stopped moving the way that I wanted, right? Just get out, right? So if I'm acknowledging that a trade isn't behaving the way that I want, right? That's kind of like a subtle way of me acknowledging that my setup thesis, right, might not be correct. So from there, right, I just got to look to basically manage my risk as best as I can. And I would say that in general, right, once I get separation above my entry price and then it pulls back under my entry price, that's like one of the worst red flags I could possibly get in a setup, right? Because if a trade is strong, it's not going to break out, then retest lower and then break out again. That's not exactly good logic, right? Or strong logic. So want to get out. I mean, that's fantastic work, Kyle. That's fantastic work. Yeah, maybe send me a screenshot of your chart to Michael at DTR Trading or send me a Discord message. Michael DTR. But yeah, I'm kind of feeling I'm probably not going to place any further trades here either. It's a nice little trading day here. Up almost 1,200. I don't feel like I need to do anything crazy. I think we took advantage of that early momentum pretty well this morning. 1186.48 on the day. That's per account, so it's not too shabby. Sounds good, Jeremy. Hey, great first day back. Congratulations. It was better than my first day back last week. So well done. Are we back in business here? 17 points of risk. could maybe do this again. Stop loss would have to be 188.70. I'll call it 188. I might be able to get something here. This candle, you mean? This 1033? This one? Yeah, but it's a textbook reversal candle, right? So if we're going to call this like a bull flag, right? Or even like a wedge pattern, that's a pretty good candle within that context. See, probably the main thing, right, that I'm like trying to, I guess, consider here, right, is we've seen price action now basically be stuck, right, for the last 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, pushing, 21 minutes. So who am I to say that it's now going to give me that like FU breakout? Maybe that's a little bit too aggressive. All right, we've pretty much gone in a straight line higher here this morning. And we're at the basically implied daily range here as well. So you know what? I'm going to talk myself out of this. I've already told myself that, hey, I'm probably not going to take another trade here on the day. And now I'm at, by definition, extended price action. And I've seen price action consolidate for the last 20 odd minutes. I'm going to pass. I think it's an easy pass. Needed a moment of madness before sanity kicked back in. Yeah, 100%, Jeff. And that's why we use the VIX, right, to give us that implied daily range. So, it's whatever the VIX reading is divided by 16, kind of gives us the implied range here on the markets. It's kind of like a rough calculation of it. And that tells us, right, it gives us about a 1%, right, implied daily move. And if I'm looking here from today's open, right, to current high price, that's about that 1% handle. Right, on NQ specifically. So that's like, 1.2%. That's pretty much spot on. Yeah, Matt, good question. So just kind of like a rough calculation or a rough kind of like figure, right, that you can use to calculate it from. I actually don't know where its history is or like who came up with that formula. But that was always kind of taught to me when I was working institutionally. So it's kind of like the way to gypsy the annualized calculation. So there's a way of like annualizing it and doing all that math, and that's a little bit more complicated. So always the rule of thumb that I was taught was that it's just 16. I'm not sure who came up with that number, but it's kind of like one of those almost like commonly used trading it's kind of one of those like common trading tools, whatever you want to call it, right? That's just like deployed a lot by people, so it becomes kind of popular, right? Or it becomes or it's used a lot. It's kind of like the it's like a VWAP, right? It's like, okay, everyone uses this indicator, so the indicator is worth using, or it's like Fibonacci, right? A lot of people use Fibonacci, so it's worth kind of paying attention to, right? One of those types of things. But the basic idea here is, right, is if you want to get a rough calculation of what the implied daily range is, you take the VIX and divide it by 17. And that is a rough, right? A rough variant, not a like perfect example or a perfect calculation. Let me get you the formula to do it properly. So basically, it's like a shortcut, right? So you have to annualize the VIX. So you have to take the square root of 252, right? Approximately the number of trading days here in a year, and then you multiply that, right, by whatever the index price is. So this is a little bit just an easier calculation than that. I'm not nearly good enough at math to be able to do the square root of 252 in my head here easily, but I can very quickly figure out what 17 divided by 16 is, for example. So for sure, there could be like a little bit of a sell-off here or a little bit of a pullback, but based on the pre-market conditions, I would have no interest in playing that reversal or that pullback scenario. Actually, I think I made an indicator about that once. Made a lot of indicators here. So this is giving me a daily implied point move of plus or minus, right, 75-ish points. We're well outside that, so this seems off. All right, team. Any further questions here? So, Ajay, right? Every time you feel like it's time for you to protect your position, that's a subtle way of you telling yourself, right, that it's time to get out. So, I would always put yourself in a situation where you have like when you feel that greed, right, to close your trade as your P&L is increasing. Because yeah, for me, it's like one of the worst feelings in the world to go from being up a lot to break even, right? Or to even red. So once you feel like it's time to protect your trade, that's kind of like a subconscious way of saying, hey, this isn't behaving the way that I want, and I want to minimize my risk. But the risk there isn't just a capital one, right? Or like a money one. It's also a mental capital risk. And so in that context, right, close your trade as your P&L is increasing. I will argue until my dying breath that getting stopped out on a pullback at entry price is worse than getting stopped out. Because it's like, okay, I was up 1 hour, I was up whatever, I was up yada, yada, yada. And now I lost all that money and feel like an idiot, right, for leaving $500 on the table or $1,000 on the table or whatever. So the second you feel like it's time to start protecting your entry, close your trade, get impartial, right? Write down in your journal why you felt like it was the appropriate time to close, and then go back at end of day and study, hey, was this the right decision or not? And build up your gut, basically, right? Train your gut to realize if that was the right decision or not. But yeah, there's nothing worse. Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that because it's something that we've all experienced, right? And we all experienced, like last week, right? I had that trade where I was up $1,600 and then I got stopped out on it in 5 seconds. And that is the single worst feeling in the world, right? The single worst feeling in the world. Kyle, are you live on YouTube? Like when you look at the clock here in the bottom right-hand corner, does it match your clock within a reasonable time frame? Yeah, Mike, that's really good advice. I'm not going to place any further trades, Kyle, but you keep answering questions at like, 5 minutes later than what I expect. So, maybe you're just like not live on the live stream. Yeah, and thinking in points, Mike, right? It scales better than thinking in dollars because the points will never change, right? It's 10 points if you have 10 contracts. It's 10 points if you have one contract. Doesn't make a difference. All right, team. Final call for questions here. Final call for questions. What am I doing today, Ajay? Is that what you're asking? So I got a few one-on-one calls here to do this afternoon. So that'll be sort of the primary focus. And then I'm gonna try to do actually I don't know which hike I'm gonna do here yet. I've got a group trail run here this afternoon, or like this evening at like 6. So I'm not gonna push it too hard. But I gotta get the dog some exercise. The the reality here is that there's like 25,000 different trails. So I could do a different trail for the rest of my life every single day and not be able to hit them all. So it's pretty awesome. And it's almost bike park season. So bike park opens up in a couple days, I think on the weekend. I'm pretty excited to do some laps and then inevitably like break my leg. I've said this before, but um, pretty much every summer from when I was like 13 to 18, so not a huge sample size, I guess, being 32 now, but from like 13 to 18, me and my cousin, we would go up to Whistler, we'd go rip mountain bike laps and bike park laps, and every summer I would break something and he would break something. Literally every summer. There was one summer where I broke my collarbone in like early May, healed up, and then broke my ankle in September. So I'm looking to avoid that type of chaos here going forward, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Nice. Well, Vancouver's beautiful. Just avoid the downtown east side. That place scares me. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I'm not sure if that's a good omen, but it's so beautiful here. So it's really hard to complain. Like not not to like flex or anything along those lines, but like this morning, right? Like I obviously take my dog out to go to the bathroom, right? And I'm getting up at 5:30, so pretty early, but not like crazy early. And you kind of get like that golden hour sunlight, right? Um, or like that beautiful, the kind of like gentle golden light, right? When you're watching, and I go down to the lake, let the dog do his business, and I'm like just like skipping rocks, right, off of the lake, warming my arm up. And man, like I'm just pinching myself every morning looking at that. It's so incredible. It makes me feel very blessed. It, yeah. Considering that when I was like 18, at 32, I thought I was going to be some corporate slave. I have a tremendous amount of gratitude. Honestly, mostly to my dad, 'cause he kind of believed in me and he helped me out a lot, kind of getting started on this process. And yeah, like it makes me a little bit emotional. So very, very grateful. It's that path to freedom. Get your ass kicked for a few years, but then once you really kind of get going, it is the best feeling in the world. Yeah. My dad, I have so much respect for him. He's such a he really believed in me. And I got to get too personal here, but my mom died when I was 18. Um, just when I started my university experience, and her health concerns effectively like bankrupted my family, like for good reason, right? My dad spent every dollar he had basically trying to get her all the help she could get, right? With her cancer diagnosis. And unfortunately, it didn't make a difference. But um, once she passed, he honestly sacrificed absolutely everything so that I could go to the UK and pursue my education. And when I told him I wanted to be a trader instead of being a lawyer, I was so nervous. Like I thought he was going to tell me, like, no, you need to do this, you need to do this, and he didn't. He was like, all right, go for it. Like he told me to go for it, like no backup plan, just go for it. And yeah, I'm going to be eternally grateful to him for giving me that opportunity. It's yeah, it makes me very emotional just thinking about it. He really he really stepped up when I imagine for him it was a very challenging time in his life too. And he was very selfless in that pursuit. And so for that, I will be forever in his debt. All right. Any other questions here, team? Any other questions? Trying to kind of get that lump in my throat here. Sounds good, Antonin. You have a great day too. I just gotta give my dad his credit. He's a good man. And he did the same thing for my sisters. So we owe him a lot. All right, team. Final call for questions here. Final call. Awesome day here. Awesome day. Nice work, Mark. Congratulations. Well done here, team. Great work here. And that's 6 green days in a row, right? Cannot complain about that. That's a great place to be. I'm always happy to share that and share my experience. And always, guys, I will always try to be. I don't really have a filter here, right? So I will always tell you guys my exact feelings, what I'm thinking, what I'm saying. I don't really have the ability to like pick my words carefully. I kind of have like diarrhea of the mouth sometimes, for better or for worse. But yeah, appreciate you guys all being a member of the team. All right, team. Well, same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours. Otherwise, looking forward to catching up with a few of you here in our one-on-ones later this afternoon. And then looking forward to getting some exercise, getting some fresh air, maybe some sunshine if I get lucky. And look out for the trade recap video here later today. But yeah, balance is sitting at a pretty healthy almost 154. So not bad for a week's worth of trading this. And let's see if we can go from there. So have yourselves a great rest of the day here, team. Kyle, I've sent you a Discord message, right, explaining where that difference is in our charts. You're looking at the micros. I'm trading the minis. So that's the difference. But have yourselves a great day, team, right? We're going to keep compounding. We're going to keep stacking them up, keep taking our base hits, and hopefully keep making some money. So love to see everyone's P&L here today. It was really, really well done. And I'm looking forward to having another fantastic day there tomorrow. And looking forward to joining you all then, where hopefully, right, I'm yawning a lot less at market open. So have yourselves a great day, team, and we'll talk soon.